Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Monday Night Live. Here we are again. And we've only got ourselves to blame. Good evening, Kenny. How are we?
Yeah, I'm okay. Been better, mate, but I'm all right.
Davey, welcome, mate. How are you?
I think I'm the way most people are tonight. Feels as if I'm in Groundhog Day yet again, but we'll try our best to keep going for the next hour.
Hi. I don't know what to say, honestly. We went into this couple of weeks with such high hopes, and we failed to beat Celtic in any of the games at home. We've only got ourselves to blame. We were hoping that we would kill off their season. I think they've killed off ours. And it's so disappointing. Kenny, it promised so much, and yet again, Rangers have delivered so little, and it's been the story of the season, in truth.
Yeah, very much so. However, I would look at the two games in combined in unison, if you like, and say that we had the perfect opportunity to lay a marker down for the rest of this season. Tossed the second half away last week. Dominated 2 hours of football without doing anything with the football yesterday, and against the poorest Celtic side I think I've seen come to Ibrox in 30 years anyway, and I genuinely mean 30 years. But 94, I think it was the last time I seen a team as poor as that. I couldn't believe the team sheet when I seen it. I thought it was appalling, and I actually said to my son, if we can't beat them, then we know exactly where we are, and that's the way I feel. I was really angry about so many things yesterday. We'll obviously go into everything that happened yesterday, but today I'm not even angry. I'm just incredibly pissed off, and my anger is now beginning to turn to certain other institutions, actually, that I think are washing their hands of certain things, and you can just see the two clubs are going to get the blame for all this when the authorities need to take a right good hard look at themselves, Stevie, about the incidents that happened yesterday. So on the pitch, not good enough, Stevie. It's as simple as that. We're not good enough. We don't create enough. We concede inexplicably at times, and yesterday it was the not creating enough that caused us the issue. We were powder puff in front of goal, and we've watched it all season, so we shouldn't have been overly surprised. But we're now left with far more questions than answers in the run into the end of this season, because I feel a little bit like you. It feels as if a month was a long time ago, where we were 2 points behind and everything was there for us, and it just feels a million miles away now. So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, Davey, I'm keen to get your say before I have mine. I have a lot to say, but I'll invite you to speak before I do.
Yeah, okay. I very much doubt I'm going to come across any different from Kenny. I think my overriding emotion today is just being totally fed up, just totally scunnered. I mentioned Groundhog Day earlier on. It's the hope that kills you, really, isn't it? And the number of times over the last few seasons that we've thought a corner has been turned, and then we just jump back down the hole again. I thought the lack of quality going forward yesterday was absolutely horrendous. I thought the final ball into the box was pathetic. The number of times we just chipped the ball into the penalty area and their keeper just came out and caught it was soul destroying. You could try and scratch one or two positives out of it, one or two performances, or the fact that they didn't create anything. But what Kenny's talking about is absolutely right. That was a really poor Celtic team. And not only was it a poor Celtic team, it was a Celtic team that was without so many of their better players. My God. You could say they've got a better goalkeeper now, but the first choice right back didn't play, the first choice left back didn't play, the first choice centre back didn't play, the captain didn't play, the most expensive midfielder didn't play, and yet we couldn't create hard anything against them. as I said, the lack of quality going forward absolutely killed us yesterday. We can go into tactics, we can go into belief, we can go into all kinds of things, but the biggest thing that was missing yesterday for me was just the quality of football that we played. We were terrible. And I want to sit here and say, like Danny Rule, we've got 9 cup finals with 27 points to play for. The league's not over. I want to think that way. I want to get the old no surrender hat on, but they've kind of knocked it out of me a bit over the last few weeks. The draw at Livingston, the 2 games against Celtic. I just can't see anything other than Rangers finishing third this season, and that's a really depressing thing to say.
Third at this moment in time. Not worth thinking about. Do you know what? I can't be arsed talking about what went on at the end and everything else. We will get there at some point. There's more pressing matters. Once again, this is where it really comes to the crux of it for me. First of all, I will gracefully say, as much as it pains me, well done to Celtic, who had a depleted squad. They did absolutely nothing in the game and managed to come away with a result, and it hurts. It really does hurt. Because, by the way, see the boy they brought on in the left wing and stuff, I thought he'd won a fucking raffle to be playing because he looked like he was an absolute diddy, and we couldn't beat them. And they have that mentality, which we don't have, and we'll come to that in a while. Yet again, this football club lets you down. They build you up. They win games that don't matter. They win games that are low pressure. They win games that get you in positions. And then when they get in positions, they quite simply shit the bed. I've had enough of this football club consistently letting us down. The players are simply not good enough. Nothing has changed from what we previously said, other than we got a coach that got them coached and has got the maximum out of them. It was a poorly put together squad in the summer. It didn't rectify a number of issues we talked about in midfielders. We have 4 midfielders who are absolutely identical. There's no threat from the middle. And that shows, because when you've only got one player of real guile, which we think is Mikey Moore, I think Skov Olsen is so far, as much as I like him and I want him to do well, he hasn't. Our front line isn't performing because they don't get opportunities. And there's too many in there, quite frankly, that when it comes to the absolute crunch, they flatter to deceive in a Rangers jersey. I can guarantee you what will happen is, say, for example, if Hearts and Celtic were to drop on Saturday, we go to St Mirren on Sunday, get a result, get it back to 3 points. Everybody would be all excited for the week, and we'd come up against Aberdeen, who are the shittiest of the shit, and it would be 0-0. Because that's what this Rangers team do. And there is a real lack of quality in certain position, and there's a lack of balls throughout that squad, because sometimes when quality doesn't get you, it's the mentality and that will and drive to win, which they have for so often failed to deliver. I've been going to watch Rangers now 35 years, and it's a cycle that absolutely destroys me, because I can see this cycle. I can see exactly how it's going to go. We'll have a lukewarm finish to the season. We'll all get excited in the summer. We'll come out, and by October, we'll have shat the bed all over the place, and we'll be looking to replace Danny Rule, because that's the way it's been now for years and years and years. And I really like Danny Rule, but failure to beat them twice in a row when they're in the state they are, it's fair that people ask questions. And I'm not asking him to be replaced or with taken out of the game. I don't think that, and I want him to be our head coach. But we're kidding ourselves on if this squad doesn't need surgery in the summer, because it does. It needs 3, 4, 5 players in that first team right down the middle. The spine is weak. The leadership group is non-existent, and we'll come to that. Because yet again, that leadership group, when it really came to it yesterday, let you down. And I'm just tired, Kenny, of when it comes to the crunch. That was lackluster yesterday. Danny Rule can waffle on about 24 shots on goal and all this pish. How many big chances were there? Because I don't remember many. How many saves did their keeper make? Because I don't remember many. So, stats have a way of padding what was a lackluster display. And there's just a real lack of quality and guile at the moment and in the big times. We've got some good players. And I think we do. I think Chukwuani's a good player, but he's similar to Raskin, to Diamande, to Connor Barron. There's nothing in our midfield that's different. None of them will get goals. That's a big issue because we're so dependent on wide areas. We're so dependent on forwards. I'm not sure I've seen Ryan Nadiri get a chance created for him in the league yet. And that's a big issue for me. He certainly didn't have any shots. And I'm just, you can dominate a ball and just look lackluster and look like we never, ever had an opportunity of scoring. Even our set pieces have went to shit. And I'm just tired of it. I really am tired of it. These players flatter to deceive all the time. And see, when the going gets really tough, they just don't have it. And that needs to change. And until it changes, until they show us they can win the big games, until they go and perform in the biggest of games, we will continue to question them all over the place, because we are in real danger here of getting stuck in this same repeated cycle. Once again, manager, uplift, shit the bed, replace them, uplift, shit the bed, replace them. It's just round and round, and I've frankly had enough of it. And these players, the majority of them, we need better quality. Kenny, do you know, Davey, same, I'll come on, both of you boys jump in here, but I've honestly just had enough of being built up to be let down by these guys all the time. They're mentality weaklings.
Yeah, they are. However, how would you put this, right? Big, good football teams will win big games, and it's a little bit like the very top tennis player, for talking's sake. They're playing in a set, and they'll be the ones that win the break points, or they'll be the ones that are holding their serve. It's that kind of thing where when it comes to the crunch, and it's absolutely key that you win, your Roger Federer's, your Nadal's, your Djokovic, they do. Rangers are a bit like an Andy Murray, for talking's sake, where, yeah, you might win it every now and again, but you don't win enough. Not with your talent. Now, that's where I see this Rangers team at the minute. Nearly men. Constantly nearly men. But when the going gets tough, we shit the bed. We do. And for me, I've got a little bit of an issue with Rangers tonight, I've got to say, where I've noticed that I was with you last week when you asked the question of Danny Rule about mentality, and he bristled a bit, didn't he? He wasn't very impressed with the question. Unfortunately for Danny Rule, you're just the current incumbent here at this moment in time without being dismissive about it. We've watched this movie over and over and over again, and the question I would ask is, if it's about quality, how come our team that's been assembled this summer for 50 million quid, plus the guys that are already there, are getting beat by guys that are coming from Dundee, or the loan players that kind of get a game for their own clubs in the French second division and stuff like this? Explain that to us then, that if we're lacking quality, frankly, our entire football department needs gutted. Genuinely. That's where I am at with this. It needs emptied, Stevie. If it's not mentality and it's quality, then for goodness sake, Andrew Kavanagh, look at what you watched yesterday. You seen it in his face. I've watched the game back, Stevie, and you've seen it in his face at the end of the game. He was not a happy man. Now, if you're prepared to pump the kind of money that Andrew Kavanagh's pumped into Glasgow Rangers, then he's looking for some kind of return out of that. Well, if it's not mentality, you're not getting value for money. Ask the question, Andrew Kavanagh, yourself. What is it? Is it mentality or quality, or is it a little bit of both? And try and rectify this. How you go about that, I genuinely don't know. You are never going to get a better opportunity to beat a Celtic side in a big cup game than you did yesterday. And we were so meek yesterday that after 63 minutes, my son looked at me and went, "It's got nothing each written all over it, and we will take shit penalties and lose this game. Watch us." And it came true. And he's not some kind of mastermind. He's the same. He's 27 years old. He's the same as every other Rangers fan, Stevie. We've watched it all before. But we know what's coming. and that's the issue. And I think that's why I'm so disappointed today. The anger subsided. We're just all that used to it. However, my concern at this minute in time is how do you go about fixing this? Because I like Danny Rule. I'm still being as patient as I can be. I'm struggling to see what kind of football we play. I genuinely am. I find it difficult to see what kind of football we play. So,
all we played yesterday, sorry to interrupt, was long ball.
But that's what I mean.
Yesterday.
You need more than that, because with all respect, Austin Trusty turned into Franco Baresi yesterday, to be fair to him. He was excellent. And Liam Scales, we didn't bother testing after 20 minutes when he'd get booked. It was mind-boggling. However, I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about Rangers and the way we underperform when we have to perform. When there is a must-win situation, we don't win them, Stevie. And I think we're in danger of as a football club of this just becoming the norm. So it's up to Andrew Kavanagh and the board and the other investors to sort this out and sort it out very, very quickly. Because I've said it many, many times on here before, there is no patience for this anymore. The tolerance levels are non-existent. They are.
Yeah, I must admit, Kenny, I quite like the tennis analogy there. Andy Murray won 3 Grand Slams out of about 50 odd. It feels as if that's us in trophies as well, isn't it, over the last 10, 12 years? Where will I start? I think I'll start with the manager, I think. So we sat here on Saturday night and previewed the game. And what was it we asked Danny Rule to do? We asked him to stick to the 2 up front. We asked him to make changes when folk were tired. We asked him to don't go defensive, go for it. He did stick to the 2 up front. Now, there's an argument that at least one of the 2 strikers should have been changed at some point in the 120 minutes, which maybe tells you a bit about how he rates Majowski, because he kept the same 2 all the way through it. But he did keep the 2 up front. Yes, he played long ball. Although I think we played long ball simply because our midfield's outnumbered with just two in it. And the 2 up there, I think, thrive on that kind of service towards them. And so, and then the other thing we said was make sure you make substitutions, keep it fresh, get fresh legs on, etc. He did that more or less. Now, you can argue whether 1 or 2 of the substitutions were the right ones, especially bringing Suter on, which I think set us back horribly when he came on. But other than that,
we'll come to Suter and
I'm sure we will. But the likes of the 2 fullbacks went off because they were in yellow cards and they were starting to tire anyway. The young Moore went off because he was tired and starting to lose the ball a lot. Skov also went off, frankly, because he was rubbish. So Chotwani came on. Diamande had been booked, and Chotwani I thought was excellent when he came on. So I think he did some of the things that we said we wanted him to do. I'm not too sure that I particularly blame him for what happened yesterday. For me, the 2 things we've talked about are the 2 things that were shown up starkly yesterday. One of which was the quality of the team we've got going forward. We got away with it well. We scored a lot of set pieces. We had a few 1-0s. We sort of scratched our way through. But the long and the short of it is we don't really have goals in the team, and it's goals that win games. And the other thing is belief. Now, Danny Rule talked before the game about we have belief. You can only show belief actually on the pitch. Don't talk about it. I don't want to hear the word belief ever getting mentioned in a pre-match press conference. Shows it. Unfortunately, they have it. And they seem to have it no matter who's in their team. So where are we now? We've got 9 games to play. I can't say I'm looking forward to any of them the way things stand right now. And then when it comes to the summer, absolutely the place needs roided out. Kenny's absolutely right. Quality and belief have to be installed into that squad. Quality and leadership need to be installed into that squad. We need bad. I think it feels like I've been saying it all season. We need bad losers through the spine of the team. We need people that influence others and get them playing, and we need better quality in all areas of the pitch. And unless we do all that, we're going to be sitting here next year, regardless of who the manager is, and we're going to be through this all over again.
Yeah, some laugh, isn't it? I don't even know what to say. Good points on Rule. He did do a lot. As I said to you, I'm not here to. I still support Danny Rule 100%. Everybody knows I think he's a really good coach. I think he's a good person, and I think he's a man to lead us forward. The issue is that already you can see fans turning on him, especially online, which by all means isn't a barometer. But this 9 games, there's not a hope in hell that we're going to win these nine final games on what we've seen recently. They just don't know how to be clinical enough to score goals. I don't really see the point in going into yesterday too much. It just lacked cutting edge. We could see it, and it's lacked it for quite a while. I feel like our players are far too similar all over the pitch. If we're going to talk about individuals, which we will come to in a wee second, I thought we were fairly comfortable. I'd like to give praise to the back four. I thought were excellent. I thought Sterling was really good. I thought Romans gave us everything on the left-hand side. Fernandes was brilliant. I thought Giga was absolutely excellent. So there's your back four for the rest of the season, if that's the positives we take out of it. I'll talk about John Souttar, James Tavernier and things in a minute. In the middle, here's where the issues arise for me. Raskin's not the issue yesterday. I've seen so many people talk about Nico Raskin having a bad game. Nico Raskin never had a bad game. And if you watch it back, we have got fuck all going forward. That's the biggest issue. We don't create enough. Nico Raskin, Diamande, Chukwani and Raskin dominated that midfield at all times, which was 3 of their players, and they dominated. They're not the issue. The biggest issue in that middle of the field is they're too similar. And while they do a good job, they're no threat going forward. So they keep the ball, rotate it. Yeah, some of the passing at times from us is a bit dodgy. It was better yesterday, more control. But the midfield isn't the issue. It's the lack of maybe something different in there somewhere, which Asgard and the lights were supposed to bring to us. But clearly, I think what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is your manager doesn't trust Miovski. Certainly doesn't trust Tello, Asgard. Connor Barron left out of both squads, which I thought was surprising, but he is. Oliver Antman as well. These guys will be guys that most likely will move on. And that's the biggest issue for me. When you go up front, Chamiti and Nadiri are undoubtedly our best combination, but are they too similar? Does it need something different? Olsen's just not performed on the right, which is a big problem because Gassama, his attitude and things when he goes on the right isn't the best. We know that. Mikey Moore's the real live wire, but every time he got the ball yesterday, there was 2 on him. So there's a lot of kind of issues about why we were unable to create. I think what we all seen yesterday as well, as much as the positives, is something that's difficult to discuss. John Souttar came on for 15 minutes, and in that 15 minutes, he almost cost Rangers 3 times, Kenny. He looks short of confidence. He looks short of ability at this moment in time. James Tavernier came on at right back, the absolute same. Got the only real time that Celtic got in during the whole game was down his side in the last minute, and then bizarrely the ref called it when they had a long throw opportunity, thankfully for us, although it didn't turn out anyway. The spine of the team, or the old guard, or the leadership group, or whatever, will continue to come in for criticism. But I think we saw 2 reasons why Danny Rule left them out yesterday. John Souttar particularly poor. We need to fix that. We need to fix the leadership group. We need to get the balance right between project players and players that we want to recycle and sell on for big money, i.e. your Chamitis, your Romans and everything else, to genuine quality of leadership throughout that club. And that's difficult, I get that. And you really need to find a Barry Ferguson. You really need to find a Colin Henry type at the back where they're going to bring that Rangers leadership to the group. Not every signing can be that kind of talent to go and produce and sell on. And I don't think we've got the balance right. And I think when you look at the second half last week, and I think you look at the game yesterday, and you look at things that have happened, and it comes into the mentality, that will to win, that ability to drag people over the line, I think we lack that as a football team. And I think yesterday, when you see our supposed leaders come on, John Souttar spread panic about that team. Butland flapped, was all over the place. Manny Fernandez, who was sensationally good the whole game, then looked completely off because he had to start covering, because John Souttar, for whatever reason, every time the ball fucking bounced, he just left it. And that caused huge issues. Tav then caused problems for Gassama, and it all spirals. I don't want to sit here and blame these guys, but if Rangers want to get to where we really want to go, in my opinion, some really big ruthless decisions has to be made. John Souttar's just got a new contract for a year. That's fine, but he's a backup central defender, and yesterday showed that.
Yeah, but he had 3 absolute bomb scare moments in the first 5 minutes that he was on the pitch. It was he sets a tone, and it's not the tone you want to be setting, put it that way. James Tavernier, listen, we've all had our say on James Tavernier. James Tavernier is well past his best, and on this leadership group, Stevie, it's highly noticeable that I think Danny Rule has clocked this. When you've got a quarter-final at home to your main rivals, and you don't start your captain or your vice-captain, then I think he knows, yeah, you've got to look at that and say, I think Danny Rule has figured this out for himself. He's been very coy when it comes to questions about James Tavernier's contract, hasn't he? He's not going to answer it. So that suggests that he's not going to get a contract. I certainly wouldn't be giving James Tavernier a new contract. I totally agree with you on John Souttar in terms of being your 4th or 5th choice centre half. I can understand why they've given him the extension. I do get that because he is Scottish. You need Scottish players for your European squad. You've got to have 5 minimum in there. So I do get this. Is he good enough? Not in current form, he isn't. No, he's just nowhere near it. The midfield, I'm going to disagree with you slightly. I don't think Nico had a great game. Didn't think he had a bad game either. I've seen a lot of folks say he had a bad game. I didn't think he had a bad game. I think it's very difficult when you have to split 2 centre halves, which is clearly the instruction. It's what he's been asked to do. When you're taking the ball 20 yards for your own goal, it's very difficult to turn around and look like Zinedine Zidane. You are a holding midfielder, so therefore you're there to pass it on. And he did that just fine. Our issue is, at this minute in time, that we don't have a runner in midfield, a ball carrier in the midfield. You've got a Mikey Moore in there that is the only one that's capable of doing it. I expected Skov Olsen to do that on the right-hand side. He's not done it. Gassama can do it at times when he's on the left-hand side, but there's nobody in the middle of the pitch from the centre circle, if you like, that kind of area that's going to take it off your centre half. So Nico Raskin has the ability to turn and go and run 30 yards with it and cause havoc. Or they can't. There's nobody in there that can place the ball through the eye of a needle. There's none of them can do that. So that is part of the issue. I do understand what you're saying, but we have more issues than the Beano as a football club at the minute, and that's where I am. I could look at Jack Butland, and I don't think he's covering himself in glory at all. I can look at the amount of goals we've leaked this season. It's not been good enough. Right back's been an issue for a number of years. Left back, since Barisic in his heyday, has been an issue. Hopefully we've sorted that. The midfield we've just discussed. Up front, I've just said we don't create enough, we don't score enough. It's that simple. A good Rangers team yesterday beats that mob 3-4-0. Of that I have no doubt. And that's not to be disrespectful to anybody, because fair play to them, they defended for their lives yesterday, and they've taken that to penalties, and they took their penalties with aplomb, and ours were appalling. So they're the ones that are in the semi-finals and not us, and that's what happens when you create very, very little in 2 hours of football. The issue for me is much more deep-rooted, as I say. I think I mentioned it last week that I think there's a mentality issue within the football department that needs dealt with. I think that's the way I'll put that. Just dealt with. How you go about doing that, I don't know. But what we need in that team come the summer is 4 or 5 additions to this team that are 27, 28, 29 years of age with winners' medals in decent-sized leagues, captains, leaders. That's what we need, winners and leaders, because we don't have enough of them. In fact, we don't really have any of them, if you're being honest. Our leadership group has got Jack Butland, James Tavernier, and John Suter in it. Count their medals. That's all you need to look at. They're not successful leaders. You can't possibly suggest they are. They're not. And that's no harm to these guys. They are where they are. They're not going to turn around and knock it back. The problem is, as a football club, this needs addressed and in an urgent way, because until we do that and have a mentality about us that we can, with all respect, swat that amazingly average Celtic side that turned up at Ibrox yesterday aside, then the problems are going to remain. That's where I see it.
I think I don't think I can add anything around about Tavernier and Suter. I think we've said everything that needs said about them. I think it would amaze me if Tavernier has got more than 9 games left in his Rangers career. For me, there's no chance he stays next season. And everybody's right about Suter in that if he wasn't Scottish, he wouldn't have got another contract. I think it's down to the European thing, but surely he has to be a 4th choice next season. So, but I think what I was going to say was I think a lot of the issues in midfield at the moment are because we've made a decision to go with 2 strikers. And we've made a decision to go with 2 strikers because we don't have one good enough to lead the line himself, what most other teams have got. So I don't think Danny Rule really wants to play just 2 holding midfield players in midfield and nobody else. I don't think he wants to do that. But I think he's sacrificed a kind of number 10 type. He sacrificed a creative player in the middle of the park to put somebody else up front beside Chermiti, because Chermiti can't play up front himself. And I think in the summer, as well as all the things we've talked about, I think if the money is still available that we said we were going to get for Chermiti in January, we should bite their hand off for it. And we need to get a proper goal-scoring leader of the line in as a number 9. And I think when it comes to midfield, you're absolutely right, Stevie. All these guys are too similar in terms of they're all holding players. They're all players that sit in front of the back 4. They're all players that are there primarily to win the ball and to protect the defence, but not really to create that much. And I think, I personally think Raskin and probably Diamande as well should both be sold in the summer. Chuck Wani's the one I would build the midfield around. I think he's been really good since he came in. I keep Connor Barron. And if I look back to what Steven Gerrard did, and I hate harking back to him because it makes it sound as if I want him back as manager again. But I mean, he brought in the likes of Stephen Davis, Scott Arfield, Alan McGregor, Jermaine Defoe, all guys with absolutely no sell-on value whatsoever, but with their weight in gold in the dressing room and their weight in gold out in the pitch in terms of what they gave everybody else. Absolute leaders who had been there before, been there, done it, knew what they were doing, and influencing everybody else. And you know what they did as well? They made other players sellable assets. So guys that we should have got money for, maybe we didn't some of the time, but we ended up with a really valuable looking team, a winning team, because these guys were the influence and all the rest of them. So in terms of leadership, absolutely, we need to forget about sell-on value for the leaders and bring in guys that actually bring everybody else on. And I genuinely think we will not win anything unless we finally sort out the centre forward position. I like Nadiri in terms of his work rate. I think he's a guy that absolutely runs himself into the ground. I'm still to be convinced he's ever going to be a goal scorer.
Yeah, and the problem is that we don't create enough chances in this team. Yeah, when I look at the forward line last year of Igamane and his talent, Cyril Dessers scoring goals, Danilo, and I look at it now, have we really got better? I know Danny obviously kind of came to his run, and kind of I think Danny just legs gave up on him. Cyril Dessers we got good money for. Eagleman forced his way out, but is it really Czerny in there as well? It's more potent than what we're watching now. I think that's the biggest issue. It's just so disappointing. We've got 9 games left in this league. I don't want to say I've given up, or certainly not chucked the towel in, but yeah,
Stevie,
I just don't. I mean, I was going to say, Kenny, somebody said to me, we don't create. We had 24 shots, Stevie. Said at the start, how many of them were almost goals or looked likely? How many were really clear-cut opportunities? This is the thing about what we're doing week in, week out. We don't rip teams apart. We don't have wingers that really go to the byline and take people on. It's very rare that happens. We don't create and we don't score enough goals. And I think that's clear that we've too many draws. Drawn with, Hibs, Motherwell, Livingston, Celtic has killed us. I think it's 2 wins in 8, possibly. So I'm sorry, but I just don't see where we create these chances, especially for our front men. As I'll go back to it and say, Nadiri has barely had an opportunity since he came in front of goal. He does a lot around the box, but we're not creating enough. So that's the biggest issue that we have to somehow unlock. Kenny, 9 games left in the season. We have to somehow find a winning formula and run with it. Players have to click. We need Olsen. We need Nadiri and Chermiti to start becoming regular goal scorers. We need players to create chances. We need to find the right blend in midfield. Perhaps we've found a defence that we can run with at the moment. But there's 9 games, and we certainly need to start putting these wins together back to back again.
We've won 3 of our last 9 games, Stevie, and it's all right for Danny Rule to talk about trying to get 27 points. James Tavernier in his press conference to say, right, we're going to try and get 27 points, 1 game at a time, and see where it takes us, and talk about belief. Unfortunately, there's no belief in the support. If you're winning 3 games in 9 or two wins in 8, which is what it is, how are we expected to believe anything when, as I say, you get yourself into that situation where you're playing catch up, you're the chaser, you're the hunter, which was Danny Rule's mantra there, let's go hunt. Well, once we got there, they just kind of stopped, didn't they? And we have to find the reason for that. I have no confidence in the run into the end of this season. I can't pretend that I do. I think I'm deflated because of the result yesterday, the performance yesterday, the fact that we've lost a 2-goal lead last week as well. I think it's kind of the whole season's kind of caught up with me now. It's been the strangest and longest season I think I can remember in my life. It feels like about 3 years ago Russell Martin was here, and when you think about it, it's only been 5 months he's been away. And I'll go on and batter on about this as long as I can this season. That if it's not mentality, it must be the recruitment, and they all have to look at that and say, if you're going to spend 45-50 million quid on building a team and there's not enough quality in it for Scottish football, when you look at everybody else's budget, what are they actually doing up there, Stevie? That's what I would be questioning. And if it isn't that, then it must be mentality. Or if it's not that, it must be the head coach. How many head coaches are we going to have, or managers are we going to have? We need to unravel this and find the solution. How we go about that, I genuinely don't know, because this season we would never have a better chance to win cups. And that's see the bottom line. That's all Rangers fans want, is big shiny things to smile at as you're waving them at us, and we don't see them, and we don't see them very often at all these days. And as I say, for the outlay that we put out and the outlay that the owners are putting out, it's not good enough.
Davey, this final 9 games, what does it bring you?
Probably more of the same. What does it bring? Probably third place, if I'm honest with you. I think I saw a comment in it, let's win the 4 games up to the split and then see where it takes us. How often have we won 4 games in a row this season? I know we probably did win about December into January time, but that was when we were hunting, I suppose, wasn't it? That's when we were thinking we didn't really have that much of a chance, so there was no real pressure on us. I'm like Kenny. I've just got to the stage that I've got absolutely no faith and no confidence whatsoever anymore, and we'll just see what happens. I think I would say about this, the thing about belief or recruitment or whatever it is, the money that has been spent, the vast majority of the waste was last summer under a different sporting director, whatever Farewell was called. We all said at the time that we couldn't believe the amount of money that we wasted back then. So we can't be surprised that recruitment's part of it, but I don't think it's the recent recruitment that's been the problem. I think we're still feeling the pain of the absolute shit show that we allowed to happen last summer, both in terms of the people we put in charge of recruitment, the recruitment strategy that we had, and the head coach that we put in place. So yes, we've got quite a lot wrong over the last couple of months when we were back in with a chance, but the foundations that were meant to be put in place last summer just basically didn't exist, and January was getting built in something that was very shaky indeed, and unfortunately it's fell down.
Yeah, listen, it's a tough one. We've all got lots of hot takes, myself included. We're all disappointed. We're all scunnered. We're all built it up and got excited just to be slapped down. I think that's the worst possible thing. We have to discuss what went on at the end of the game. We have since heard from Police Scotland. Emma Croft came out and said that currently the allocations yesterday are unworkable. So I think we all know where this is going. Funnily enough, right where Rangers have to go to Parkhead in a few weeks' time. The state of the broom one, the damage, the graffiti, everything that's been done to stadiums, to toilets, to inside. I find it amazing that people just spray paint and write on walls and stuff right at exits where the police and stewards stand and nobody stops them. I find that really interesting. I know we do damage to their stadium, right? I get it. I absolutely get it, because we're rivals and we hate each other. I get it. So I'm not going to get too cut up on that. But in the grand scheme of things, fans on the pitch at the end, again, it happens. Late winner, emotions spill over. And then we obviously go on the pitch, people start fighting. That's not as ugly scenes and everything else. I just, it's obvious that we're never going to get that attendance again. I understand that completely. Am I going to get in the tit and for tat? And, I'm a grown up. Like, I've been going to these games for 30 odd years, as I said before. I know how it works. I know what's happened. I've been there in the away end when, we're destroying their stuff, and they've certainly done it to ours. And there's coins thrown, there's lighters thrown. I seen 23 people get sent off last night in a game. We're not quite that bad. So I did think it was funny. I seen it online, the 23 players sent off, and somebody commented the one player that wouldn't get sent off in our game is Daisen Maeda, who seems to foul and never get booked, which is fucking spot on, because he done it again yesterday. But God, I mean, do you know what? And this is probably the easiest way to describe it. When all that started yesterday, I left the gantry pretty quickly. I just can't be arsed with wee boys being wee boys and behaving like that. Notice that it's, it's always the same sort of crews and stuff that are doing these. I just can't be arsed with it. Maybe I'm too old in the tooth. Maybe I've been going to games for too long. I just can't be arsed with all this shite that goes on. Kenny, do you know what? It's just unwanted shit, to be quite honest, that we just don't need for the game, for Rangers, for the old firm, for trying to get that rivalry back. you know, I don't expect everyone to be angels. Seats are going to be broken and all that, but they've literally trashed that Broomloan. The damage is extensive. And then the stuff on the pitch from both sides, by the way, they might have started it, but we then went on. The stuff about attacking, you know, or members of their coaching staff, people try to get to them, stuff getting said in the tunnel on the way up, you know, it's just all shite, and it gives them, you know, the means to be able to say stuff. And I just honestly, I just can't be asked. We just didn't need it.
No, we didn't need it. However, that's what I was going to say about this. First of all, you'd have been the same as me if you had looked at your phone during the game. The fact that they were trashing the Broomloan was common knowledge to everybody. Everybody. So I'll ask right there and then, what are Police Scotland doing? What are the police actually doing when there's vandalism going on in there within meters of them, and they're just letting it happen? So I'm not impressed with that at all. They had when the Maeda goal went in, you boys would have seen it as well. There was a few of them jumped onto the pitch, so they should have been expecting that at the final whistle. They absolutely should have been expecting that. It took the police about 3 minutes to bother their arse to get onto the pitch. There was a few stewards trying to get them off, not a policeman in sight. So that pissed me off. The lack of understanding. I've heard, was it Kate Stevens or something like that today? I read her from Police Scotland. What a load of bollocks, honestly. You know, this is this and this is that, and I've got nothing but praise for my policeman. Listen, start looking within yourself a little bit. You're getting paid a fortune to police a football game. Any chance you can actually police it? Because what you've got, in case you hadn't understood what this situation is you've got a set of ultras in the Green Brigade that are, and just to explain it to people, ultras is football hooligans. That's what they are, right? You've got a set of football hooligans trashing a stand. That's what they're doing. They're jumping onto the pitch when they've got a goal that was ended up chalked off. But when they were already jumping onto the pitch, you've allowed them to come onto that pitch at the final whistle, and when the winning penalty goes in. And I kind of understand what they're doing. They're going about and they're celebrating. But what I don't like is the fact that they went towards the Govan, they went towards the enclosure, they started goading folk. And they're still doing nothing about it, the police. Now, here's the issue I've got. What do you expect the other set of football hooligans, the ultras, to do? Just sit back and watch? Or are you utterly unaware of football culture and you just want an easy life as a police force? Is that what you're doing? Because that's what it looked like to me. They didn't want involved yesterday. Now, the main problem I have is not even Police Scotland. My main problem is with the SFA for allowing this shit to happen. They're the ones that turned around and told us we had to give them that stand. They told us that. They threatened us with court. If I'm right, Stephen, you know I am. They threatened us with court if we didn't accept it, and then threatened to give them 10,000 tickets.
Yeah, what Rangers were told was you either arrange this between the clubs and agree to yourself. Rangers highlighted security issues, just like Hibs and Aberdeen had done previous seasons and been allowed to do it. They were told you either agree it with them. Celtic asked for what they were entitled to, which is 10,000, judging by the rules of the competition. And we had to give them what we could, which was the Broomloan. So Rangers were against this completely. So yeah, you're spot on. We were told that if we didn't make the arrangements, then this is the way it would go, and we would be told what we were doing. So yeah.
Now my point about that is, go and read the SFA's statement yesterday. What a load of old bollocks from these people, pontificating from a great height as if they were they're taking some kind of moral high ground. They forced this to happen when Rangers have told them year in, year out, the SPFL have done the same by enforcing this increased capacity, increased away attendance. And you're like, I am sick and tired of these people thinking that they can run roughshod over people. There's good people at Rangers and there's good people at Celtic that have to sit and endure this bollocks all the time with these wee Neds and these wee boys running riot across the city, dictating to their clubs that this is what they're going to do and this is what we have to do and you have to accommodate us. And I'm a bit bored of it, Stevie. I really am, because I just find that ultimately ugly scenes, disgraceful scenes, shit show of yesterday is ultimately what's going to happen, particularly when, as I say, you've got the SFA and the SPFL telling you, no, this is going to happen. Well, it's on you then. It's actually on you, because Rangers as a football club have sat and told you for 10, 12 years now that every time they turn up, they fucking wreck the gaff. That's what they do. And cause chaos. And some of the scenes outside Ibrox yesterday were despicable, like disgusting scenes. And look, as I say, I'm going to stop because I could go on and on and on about this, and it's just pissed me off so much because, as I say, I just look at that and think, from the SFA, from Police Scotland, I just look at it and think, if you're going to allow one set of football hooligans onto a pitch to run riot and goad an entire support, what do you think the other set of football hooligans are going to do? How naive do you want to be? Because they need to take a lesson and learn. And as I say, if I'm Rangers, I'm actually turning around and saying to them tonight, Celtic and the SFA and the SPFL, they're not getting back in. We don't give a shit what you say, and we're not taking any tickets for Parkhead. We don't want any. Tough shit. We're not taking any. And see if the SPFL or the SFA try and dictate it, just turn and stick your two fingers up at them and say, we don't care what you do. They are not getting in. End of story.
I think I'll throw my tuppence worth in as well. I think first thing to say is you're absolutely right about the police. But where I was sitting yesterday was actually right towards the end of the main stand, just looking down right into the Broom one, which was an experience. So the first thing I'll say is, before the game even started, apparently there was a group of Celtic fans inside the Broom one, kicked in a door and let lots of ticketless fans outside get in. I'm not sure how that can happen if you're policing a football stadium, both inside and out. Now, Kenny, I've been going to football for a long time. It used to be when you were an away fan going to Parkhead or Hampden and you had a ticket, you had to show a sort of cordon before you could get to the stadium itself. I don't know whether things are on phones and stuff like that, they've stopped doing that, but hundreds of ticketless fans shouldn't have been able to get right beside where the stadium was to start with, I don't think. That's a police thing. When it comes to the scenes at the end of the game, I found it beyond belief that there wasn't a line of stewards or police behind each goal when the penalty shootout was nearly finished. Certainly, I remember seeing lines like that at Hampden in cup finals and stuff like that when it gets to the last minute, so they prevent a crowd invasion onto the pitch. It was utterly predictable and I think pre-planned amongst the Celtic supporters that if they won that game, they were going to invade our pitch yesterday. I don't know why there wasn't a line of police and stewards stopping them getting on to start with, because if they had done that, there wouldn't have been a response to the other end of the park, and you could have avoided a lot of the shit that's now happened. But I think, for me, yes, I've been going a long time. I was at the 1980 Cup final when the riot was on the pitch. I've seen it for a long time. I think that what the Celtic fans did inside the Broom One stand yesterday goes way, way beyond anything that we can possibly ever tolerate again. Okay, they trash seats, and I get that sometimes happens, but see the stuff about 1971, the stuff about the 66 people that died. I'm the one person in this pod old enough to remember that day. My dad was at that game. I remember that night how worried we were because he didn't come home straight away. I remember some fans that people I knew happened to know them were involved and actually got injured. Nobody I knew died, thankfully. Inside Ibrox yesterday, there will have been sons or brothers or cousins or some kind of relative or friends or neighbours of people who died in that tragedy in 1971. The Broomloan stand actually was built in the late 70s, early 80s as a monument to the 1971 disaster. That's why we put the stands up when we did. We put stands up before just about any other big team in Britain did, because we wanted to never have another disaster in our stadium again. That Broomloan stand is a monument to those 66 Rangers supporters. They've absolutely fucking desecrated our home. As far as I'm concerned, they never, ever get in it again. And it's rich coming for me after all the games I've been at and away ends at Rangers Celtic games. That crossed the line for me yesterday. And for me, that's it as far as I'm concerned. They don't get back.
One thing I will say is on that, and yeah, I do have a real issue with 66 not enough and the vile stuff they come out with. I find it really interesting if that was down south and it was about any Hillsborough or Bradford or whatever, the quite rightly the press would be up in arms, and ours quite conveniently don't say a fucking peep. Davey, you said a lot of things there that are very close to home and very true. I think I speak for everybody on this podcast to say we would rather be here discussing Rangers victories and discussing positive things that happen in the game. I will note that Rangers went to Parkhead and turned over Celtic at the start of January, and we didn't go on any pitches. We didn't go anywhere. And you know, I think it's rich coming from that yesterday that they behaved the way they did. And I'm not making excuses for our fans that behaved the way we did. We just lowered ourselves in that, and that's not on. But yeah, I think I speak for everybody. You say we'd rather come on talk about football. We'd rather talk about Rangers victories. We'd rather not have to be critical, but we won't shy away from calling it the way we want to call it. There's a lot of frustration in there, but I do believe the trajectory of the club is going the right way. It's going to take time. It's going to take more windows. I warned that even weeks ago when we were doing well. And subsequently, wheels have fallen off of it. We've got 9 games to go. We just have to take it a game at a time and see what happens. That's for sure. Kenny, appreciate it as always, mate. Yeah, one day we'll have a podcast where we can just come on and enjoy the moment and enjoy where Rangers are. Hopefully soon.
Right, hopefully. I'm not holding my breath at this minute in time. And one thing I would say as a Celtic fan in the comments saying, you know, we do the same at Celtic Park. Yeah, we'll smash up your seats and we'll all do that. But see when you're disrespecting the dead, you're disrespecting the dead. Behave yourselves. That's the bottom line. And as Davey said about the disaster, most of us know people that were there at that day or have lost people that were there that day. Just, it's pathetic. And as I say, that's my final word on it. But thanks for having me on. A little bit cathartic. We'll see how it goes over the next few weeks, mate. But we need to take lots and lots of points over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's not beyond us. We have went on a run before. We just need to find that from somewhere. Davey, appreciated honesty and reflection at the end. Much appreciated, mate.
I would say my pleasure, but it's something I never want to have to say. We do Monday nights, so we tend to be the one on after the games, aren't we? There's been some good Monday nights this season, but I would say in terms of this season so far, probably that's the most depressing Monday night show we've done this season. And let's hope that by next Monday we'll get something better to talk about.
Aye, Rangers victory. Ultimately, that's all we want. Huge thank you to everyone in the almost everyone There is a few that come on and disrespect the pod and ourselves. We'll just ban you. Doesn't bother me. Opposition fans will watch this. Don't mind that in the slightest. Your opinion is valued. If you're on to have a sensible viewpoint, absolutely. If you're not, and you're just going to come on and say stuff about things, make sectarian comments, that we will just ban you straight away. For those in the comments that have contributed, thank you ever so much. Much appreciated to everybody who likes and subscribes. We really appreciate it. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview Fire Protection and Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning and Candid. To our partners, Black Rooster and Art Gold, thank you very, very much. You will notice on the ticker at the top, there is a new name up there, Rangers Youth Development Company.co.uk. I was approached by Colin Stewart at Rangers Youth Development Company regarding sponsorship for the pod. And they offered us money. They offered us a fee, which I rejected. Said we would be delighted to be sponsored by Rangers Youth Development. We will allow is not the right word. We will be honoured to have Rangers Youth Development sponsor our Sunday show, which they will take over. So we will run in conjunction with them. We'll try and promote what they do. And yeah, we are doing that for the love of the club and for the support of Colin, who is an unsung hero at Rangers Football Club and the Rangers Youth Development charity, for everything they do for Rangers as well. So we've not taken a fee. We wouldn't do that. And we're just proud to be supportive of the RYDC. So there's more to come of that, but we're delighted to be associated with them and the podcast. Yeah, and on that note, it's difficult. It's difficult, isn't it? Because we all just want our team to win, and ultimately we've come up short again. Really, really difficult. And yeah, it hurts, and it's a nasty one, that's for sure. But we'll pick ourselves up. We'll be back on Wednesday night. Myself, Kenny, and Chris will be back as well Friday evening, and also with regards to the weekend, we'll be previewing St Mirren and be back for a post-match on Sunday afternoon. Also, take care, everyone. Thank you very much for your viewing pleasures and joining us. We much appreciated it. And look, it's fucking bollocks, isn't it? I think we all feel that way. We all were a bit scunnered. We're all a bit pissed off, but we do our best. We pick our head up, and we're thankful that at the end of the day, when we wake up tomorrow, we'll be Rangers fans. Have a good day. Take it easy. Bye.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.